I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar, Navigating the Legal Tech Landscape, a Roadmap to Success. I'd also like to thank today's sponsor, SaaShop. SaaShop is a software marketplace that makes buying and managing software simple. Software and IT solutions and services available through SaaShop empower small to mid-sized firms to stay focused on what's most important to the firm while providing hassle-free access to tools and support with unbeatable value. We are excited to be joined today by Greg Milliken. Greg Milliken is the president of SaaShop. He has an extensive background in executive management, technology, and fundraising, and has over 30 years of experience. Welcome, Greg. We look forward to seeing what you have to share with us today. You can go ahead and take it from here.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joy. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully everybody is seeing that screen here. And let me just pop up my chat window so I see that clearly. So thanks everybody for attending. Again, the webinar is Navigating the Legal Tech Landscape, and we really want to try to provide some helpful insights into how your firm can look at software technology, the adoption cycle, how it can help your business. We won't try to get into the specifics of a particular software product or functionality, but really help you provide a pathway, a roadmap, if you will, to how technology can drive success in your firm. So again, Joy, thanks a lot for that introduction. I have to say it's probably more than 30 years, but I think I stopped. I guess it's the 30-year-old birthday. It never goes up. Never goes up from 30 years. But yeah, I had a long time in enterprise software and hardware as well. So happy to be representing SaaShop. As stated, we describe ourselves as a one-stop legal software marketplace and advisor for small to mid-sized firms. So, when the whole software industry shifted from what we called paid up or permanent perpetual license models to subscription models, the whole way that you think about software changed, and it was now a recurring expense every month. And I always talk about, one thing software vendors want is they want you to love their product first and to continue using it. But right after that, they want you to forget you bought it. And I don't know how many of us have kind of looked down and realized we had an active subscription going on that we didn't know we were using or we aren't using, we didn't know we were paying for. And that has just become a major issue for businesses because now that clock is ticking every month and money is flying out the door. And when you think of now subscription happening in a recurring way, if you've got 10, 20, literally it is not uncommon for businesses to have even over 100 applications running. It becomes a full-time job to manage that. So in addition to helping companies buy software and manage it, what we try to do is consolidate that in one place. So allowing you to have a heads-up display of everything you're buying, being aware of when software is renewing, helping you understand the costs. That's a whole category known as spend management now. So that's what SaaShop does. So let's kind of move on and start talking about this roadmap for success, if you will, with legal software technology. And hopefully that provides insight that you'll find useful. So before we even get into the roadmap, why are we looking at a roadmap? What's the destination? What are we striving for? And you can see here a list. Some of this is maybe obvious, but I think it's worth speaking to. Yes, it's the benefits of legal tech adoption, but it's really adoption of any technology and the goals around that. What are you trying to achieve? Obviously, enhanced efficiency and productivity, getting more done with less, or getting more done with the same folks that you have. Key to this is improved client service. That's maybe even the most important. if you're presenting a good face to your clients and you're making them satisfied, you're aware of your interactions with them, that's a key goal of technology and something that we believe really shows up in the roadmap and something to think about. Cost reduction is an obvious one. Competitive advantage. If you think logically and consistently about how you're utilizing technology and you develop a plan for how you use it, inevitably that results in competitive advantage. And that's something we believe that it's worth spending the time to focus on. And lastly, maybe not last but not least, is risk mitigation. When you're eliminating errors, you're being more efficient, you're focusing on making sure the right information is available to your clients and the wrong information is not. You create an environment where risk is minimized, and that goes hand in hand with these other benefits. So let's talk a little bit about the roadmap. And what we've done is we've kind of used this metaphor of a map to maybe make it a little bit simple. And we kind of describe 5 waypoints, if you will, along this map. And that's what we call nascent or just beginning. 2 is developing. 3 is established. 4 is where it starts to become what we would describe as strategic. And 5, transformative, where you really begin to change how your firm operates. And embarking on this journey of adopting legal technology can really transform the firm. That's ultimately where the final step is. So whether you are just getting started or you're looking to take your firm to the next level, understanding where you are on the path to technology integration is key to making informed decisions. So in this webinar, we're going to try to break down these stages and talk through each one, give you some insights, the kind of products that are used, how you should be thinking about how it would affect the processes and operations within your firm. And hopefully it provides you a starting point to think about technology in a very structured and systematic way. And again, I mentioned this, but think about these stages as waypoints along the way for better operational efficiency, again, improved client service, enhanced productivity. And as you progress through each stage, you'll adopt more advanced tools and practices that we believe are really going to benefit your firm. So with that, let's start with the first stage, the getting started on the highway, the nascent stage. This is where your firm is really just beginning to adopt technology. You're likely using minimal tech solutions. You're probably relying still on paper-based processes, maybe a lot of manual data entry. The goal in this stage is really to begin laying the foundation by incorporating essential tools that are going to start to improve that efficiency and productivity. So again, at this stage, your limited technology usage, you're automating basic administrative tasks, probably paper and manual workflows are involved in the process. But what you're going to start to do in this stage is start moving towards cloud-based solutions. Now, I mentioned at first about SaaS Shop talking about the subscription model and helping you manage these subscriptions and doing that in an efficient way. Coming hand in hand with that is cloud. We know that almost everything is transformed to the cloud, but there are still a number of products that are not cloud-based. They may be installed on premises. Certain industries have more of that. Legals, maybe has still a significant number of tools that are not cloud-based, but any company that is a modern software vendor, if they're not already to the cloud, they're actively pursuing it and they're developing their technologies to support it. So in this stage, again, you're starting to move towards cloud-based solutions for easier access. An obvious one is think of Microsoft. You can run Microsoft Office on the desktop, or you can run it in a browser. Google inherently has been cloud-based from the beginning. So start to think about that when we talk about cloud-based solutions and easier access to those solutions. Again, if you're on another computer, you don't have that installed desktop solution, you can go right off into a browser-based interface. Same with data storage, documents available to you, whether you're on your mobile or you're on another computer or whether at your desktop, at your desk at work. Another common tool that comes out in this in this stage is e-signature. We've all heard about that. Maybe most of you are already doing that. Probably likely you are. I know still in the legal space, so that wet ink signature is still often an important or required or desired element of process. But just like banking went to full on, at first there was a lot of concern about security and should I do online financial transactions? The same is happening with tools like signatures and finalizing contracts and that. So that's a key class of product and technology in this stage. Another common one is adopting file sharing and collaboration tools. That's where you really start to move into this digital environment in the first stage. And that can be simple tools like Dropbox for Business or OneDrive. Of course, Google Drive is integrated within the Google Workspace environment. So again, example tools here, foundationally, you should think about at this stage, you're making a choice of, am I a Google shop or am I a Microsoft shop? And Microsoft is still the dominant player when you look at office automation tools. I mean, I think the stats say that it's 95% of businesses are in the Microsoft 365 world. So they're really the 800-pound gorilla, if you will. But increasingly, Google Workspace is a cheaper alternative. It's got great tools. It's natively cloud. That's a choice you need to be making. And in fact, if you've made a choice for one and you're maybe not satisfied with the behavior, this is also a time to consider shifting from one to the other. So important first step in the nascent stage. I talked about e-signatures. Obvious names that come up here are DocuSign and Adobe Sign, but there's a number of other tools. Dropbox has a product called HelloSign. There's PandaDoc incorporates e-signature within the actual contract management process. So there's a lot of choices there. But again, that's a stage. If you're not doing that, it's appropriate to begin starting to do it. If not for everything, for some things. And again, I mentioned file sharing, Dropbox Business, and OneDrive. This all begins to drive the collaborative environment, sharing files directly with your clients, having your clients upload documents. ShareFile is a very common tool here as well that has a very focused area in legal. So there's the generic tools, again, like Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, but then there's more specific ones as well. And that's part of a whole landscape that we want to help expose to you as well and make you not have to do the research. We've done some of that for you. And again, lastly, I would just go back and talk about the two platforms, Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. Inherent in those tools are collaborative tools. In Microsoft, it's Teams. In Google Drive, it's Meet. And those are the tools that let you, similar to we're using the WebEx platform today, but do live interactive meetings with clients. Hopefully most of you are saying, hey, this is old news. I've heard about this. We're already on this path, but this is where it starts. If your firm is just beginning, if you're starting a new firm, you're hanging up your shingle, this is where you want to begin to think about it. So nascent stage. So let's move to the next stage that we call developing. And this is where you've started you've laid that foundation, and now you're beginning to pick up speed, and you're starting to get a little bit more sophisticated in your implementation of technology. So now this is where you begin to start looking at legal specific, and again, these lines are not hard and fast. They gray across boundaries, but we find this to be an instructive way that we talk with our clients and customers and help guide them through their thinking. But in the developing stage, you begin to get comfortable with technology. You've got your foundation laid, and now you're beginning to think about maybe legal specific solutions. We think at this stage, your firm should begin to design to handle products that are focused again on key legal tasks, such as case management, document organization, secure client communication. You've got integration between products that are starting to come into play. So think about your calendar in your foundational product in either Google or Microsoft. And if you're setting up a meeting or a get together with a client that's showing up in an integrated way in your calendar automatically without you having to manually create that. So think about this idea of integration now starting to raise its head between the various tools that you're using. You're starting to incorporate more specific legal tools, and now you're thinking about how those products work together. But you're often still using multiple tools, some of which that are not integrated. This is also where data security starts to come into the picture more significantly. You're thinking about how do you make sure, again, that the right information is getting to the right people, but maybe even more importantly, that the wrong information is getting out there to those that you don't want to have access. So often in this phase, you're adopting tools, case management tools, time tracking software, that helps you in streamlining your operations. You're maybe looking at a purpose-built document management system for legal, and there's some very compelling tools. We talked a little bit about OneDrive and Dropbox for Business. Those are very generic tools that are used across many industries. But when you start to look at this phase, you start to see products like NetDocuments and iManage that have very specific capabilities that have been optimized across hundreds, if not thousands, of legal firms. This is also where often secure client portals come into the picture. So that's again where you're improving customer communication. Think back to one of those goals, improving client service and the experience that your clients have. So by having a secure portal where your clients are able to upload documents that you need from them and you're able to disperse those to them, kind of getting rid of the old email attachment approach, which I'm sure we all still rely on more than we should, but this begins to bring that to the fore, again, increasing security. If you're providing a secure upload path and you're not sending an attachment that might get forwarded, that's the kind of thinking when we say talking about improving security. So let's talk a little bit about some of the products or examples that are in this phase. Clio is a very popular tool that addresses many functions within the firm, but for case and client management, MyCase is another common one at this stage, or examples of legal specific tools that we believe you're starting to consider or should be considering at this developing stage. TimeSolve or Bill for time tracking and billing. I mentioned NetDocuments and iManage, specifically focusing towards document management for legal firms. And Clio Connect is an example, again, of a secure client portal that falls into the suite of tools that Clio provides. So moving to the next stage, again, this is what we call the established stage. So you come through this foundational construction or establishing the foundation. You've begun to adopt legal technologies and legal specific technologies. You're thinking about integration and security, and you've really built that foundation. You're focusing in, and now you're at, again, what we call the established stage. Now, at this stage, your technology has become an integral part of your operations. Integration is happening in multiple points. You're starting to use data analytics to gain insights into the workflows that you perform daily and client management. So often when we hear that term data analytics, it starts to get jargony, but think of that simply as things like, once you're putting together a process for, say, maybe how you onboard clients, and you have certain stages where you send an engagement letter, you get a response back, you have initial meetings, you start to have timing between those stages. Excuse me, and analytics can begin to show you, hey, we're improving the time it's taking for us to respond to this client, to get an engagement in place, to get the appropriate engagement letters or contracts signed. So this is what's beginning to happen in this established stage. So the focus begins to shift, excuse me. The focus begins to shift now to optimizing and enhancing client service through technology. So you've got your foundations, you've got your integration working. Now you can begin to think about optimizing and really enhancing the way you interact with customers and clients. So think about that client customer service. That was that second destination, why we're doing this. And that's maybe one of the most important of all. So in this stage, core workflows are starting to be digitized and automated. Think about your client onboarding process or the way you go through certain cases and matters and how you deal with those through their life cycle. Data is starting to be used for insights into firm performance. Again, I talked about simple ones like just the time it's taking you to complete certain phases or stages in this process. What you're also doing is maybe at this stage you begin to think about a tool like a CRM, a customer relationship management tool, which is a whole category of tools. Think of products like Salesforce or HubSpot. A common one that SaaShop works with is Pipedrive, which is typically their focus and differentiation is around ease of use and simplicity. Clio has an integrated CRM as well. And that's an interesting point about at this established stage. You start to see choices around, do we have suites of tools that we're going to use in our firm that kind of somewhat dictate how are you going to run and operate your overall firm, as in the case of Clio. But then you also have best of breed solutions where maybe you focus on a specific process or aspect of your firm, and CRM is a great example of that. We have a number of legal customers that use Pipedrive as a tool that helps them bring on new business. So think about it, that enhancing the front end of your business, bringing in new clients, optimizing how you're getting them through processes in your organization, staying very much on top of how you've communicated with them, what you've said, when you said it, when you need to follow up, and having all of that recorded for your access in the future. That's where you really start to hone in, if you will, on customer and client satisfaction. Again, self-service portals in this stage start to become more sophisticated, access to case information and services. Maybe at first with a self-service portal, you're just sharing documents back and forth. But at this established stage, your use of that portal might become more sophisticated and integrated with how you're actually performing along certain client intake and pipelines or phases through which you work your clients. And again, analytics, I mentioned, you're really starting to focus on not only automating your workflows or your processes, but looking at the data and pursuing that data-driven approach, if you will, optimizing around the way your clients are reacting to you, how quickly things are happening, how often or how let's say infrequent errors are occurring. That's all an important part of this process. So again, I mentioned Pipedrive as an example of a CRM in this stage. Clio, again, I mentioned as well, has an integrated CRM capability. Other tools that are common we find in this stage, MyCase and Rocket Matter, that offer really nice self-service portals. Another tool, Practice Panther, has built-in analytics that really help with optimizing performance. So again, some tools to think about within this established stage. So let's move down to the next stage. Now, this is where you've really built your foundation. You're relying significantly on technology. It's improving your business, but now you're thinking ahead. You're thinking strategically about how technology is going to provide a competitive advantage. So at this stage, you gain competitive advantage by using more advanced technology, of course, but automation becomes more widespread. Innovation becomes more common within your firm. You find ways that you can innovate in processes that the technology helps you see and helps drive that innovation. You're finding ways to differentiate yourself because you're seeing that feedback from clients, and you really begin to think more holistically in a bigger picture at this stage. So again, we're driving competitive advantage here. we're really trying to flesh out that you really don't have routine tasks that are not automated, or that you have minimal tasks that are not automated. And that's freeing you up for higher value work. So again, in these tools, you're leveraging AI to maybe improve your contract review process or your due diligence. You know, the AI tools are becoming quite sophisticated, amazing actually, and how well they can get you started or get you insights that before took significant amounts of manual time. Um, Automation, again, is very prevalent in this stage. You're streamlining workflows and really reducing manual processes, maybe eliminating those completely by this stage. Marketing automation maybe becomes an important point to extend an important tool that you're using to extend your reach and grow your firm. You know, when we talk about marketing automation, that's sort of tools for automating emails or outreach, for creating cadences of outreach. You know, maybe you send an email on this day, and a week or two or whatever that time frame you have, you call or reach out, and then maybe in 2 more weeks you do some kind of social media interaction. You really make that a process that you follow. So this is what we find firms are thinking about at this strategic stage and adopting these tools. Example projects are Co-Counsel by Casetext, Law Geeks. They're got some great AI tools related to contract review and other capabilities. Zapier, Smokeball's AutoTime, that are really focused on integration and workflow automation. And again, Pipedrive, we mentioned for CRM, Pipedrive has integrated capabilities for campaigns so that both drive the engagement of new customers, and then once you have engaged them, to then take them through that process that ultimately makes them a paying client and hopefully a very satisfied client at that stage. So let's move to the last one. This is what we call the transformative stage. And kind of the sky's the limit here. Technology is fully embedded in your firm and culture at this point. You're not just using tech to operate more efficiently, but you're using it to innovate and to create new service offerings to drive growth. You're truly fueling your business with technology here, and you're finding new opportunities through the foundation that you built before. Continuous learning and experimentation is happening in this phase. Of course, new technologies are coming out, and your familiarity with technology, the integration between it, the processes that you've automated has kind of made it more easy to adopt new technologies or to customize them. And it's really a part of your firm's DNA at this stage. So again, let's just kind of recap. Technology is seamlessly integrated into essentially every aspect of your firm at this stage. You're focusing on innovation and delivering exceptional value here. Technology is really driving all parts of your business. You're fostering a culture of continuous learning and adaptation to technology. You're open to it. You're more readily adopting it. Your staff and attorneys are more comfortable and accepting of new technology, which the technology adoption is something that all vendors focus on. It's a key part of a metric that software vendors follow, and it's a driver for clients. I mean, how many of us have bought a tool we got all excited about and then we didn't use it? That's that example too, back to SaaS Shop's value proposition. Hopefully whatever technology we buy always works for us and we're happy with, but if it doesn't, the quick thing is to make sure that you're not continuing to buy it, or you're finding alternatives that do work for you. I mentioned this briefly, but this is also where customization to your firm's unique needs starts to happen more readily. Not to say that that hasn't happened at earlier stages, but this is clearly a stage where you're thinking about customizing tools specifically for yourself, which is, yes, it's of course automating and improving and optimizing for your firm, but it's also driving that competitive advantage value that we really focused on earlier. And you're using technology to create new service offerings. you're enhancing existing ones, you're really opening the door to all manner of improvements in your business. So examples here are customizing software that specifically aligns to your firm. I mentioned that briefly. Implementing tools like Acronis for advanced data backup and security. Experimenting with AI solutions like CoCounsel. I mentioned that. So I've thrown out a lot of software names here. Don't get too hung up in that. We actually also have an accompanying landscape document that you're welcome to download. We'll provide a link to that at the end of the webinar that breaks all of this out, provides a good comprehensive list of applications at each stage and insights into what they offer. And so we really, and the list is big. So it can be a little bit daunting to do that research yourself. So we hope that by providing this framework and then providing you more detail to support your own research and due diligence around products, and then looking to firms like SaaSshop or other service providers that can assist with that, I think is the way we want to help guide firms on this technological journey that they're making. So I also want to throw up our obligatory testimonial here. GP Law Group is a firm out of California that we work with. You can see here by the quotes, I won't read every one, but an example is they were using spreadsheets and Word documents, which many of us probably still do in many cases, that's what are examples of the manual processes that we talked about, manual entry. Even though you're using a technology tool like a spreadsheet or Word, often it really is just an automation of what would have been a manual process. And for them, it was a barrier to scaling. And this is an interesting case, GP Law went towards that best of breed solution, Pipedrive, for a CRM. And it's really helped them automate their client onboarding, helped them to optimize that process. They happen to be personal injury attorneys, and they have a whole process for their engaging new clients, and they're bringing them through that onboarding process. They're monitoring the metrics. And of course, they give us a nice plug for how we helped them just kind of sort that out and understand the various products, bring Pipedrive into their business and integrate it with their other core platforms. Here would be an example. Pipedrive is a CRM. You're using it to engage customers. Maybe one of your customers responds and wants to set up a meeting. Again, you're using Pipedrive's outreach capabilities. You schedule that meeting, and it automatically shows up on your Microsoft Calendar or your Google Calendar. That's kind of a simple example of integration and how that can really begin to optimize efficiency and just make this all technology a tool that's helping you and not maybe making things a little bit more complicated sometimes. So with that, I want to sort of point you here that one of the things that SaaSshop offers is software review. So one of the things we find, sometimes we call it an audit, but it's actually a simple, really a simple review of the software tools that you're using is something that we do for free and just help assess what are you using, what are you paying for it? That's an obvious part. Can you get it for a better price? Are you buying it on a monthly subscription or an annual subscription, or is it a paid up license? Those are all the details that come into that review. And we just help you get that sorted out and look at it in one single heads up place. So you can scan that QR code. There's a link. This presentation is going to be made available after the webinar, so you'll have access to it. You don't have to necessarily jump on it right now. But also, I want to mention the legal tech landscape guide. So I've talked through these stages at a very high level, probably rambled a little bit here, but you can download the document either at the link or by scanning the QR code. Again, that'll be in the presentation that you can access. And that provides all of this in a document for you to look through with product examples, much more detail around that, outlining each stage and providing you just a helpful guide yourself. Even if you did it all self-service and never reached out to SaaS Shop or another technology provider, it gives you and your legal administrator in your firm and partners, other staff, just the tools that maybe make this process a little clearer and easier to follow. And of course, I mentioned the lines are not hard and fast. You may find that some of these stages are combined. You may find that they overlap in some instance. It's really just a tool to help guide you through that process. So with that, that's our webinar. Hopefully maybe I saved you a little bit of time today and this made sense. Thanks everybody for attending. And I think we're going to open it up to questions and answers now.
Yes, Greg, thanks so much. I want to remind attendees to please go ahead and put your questions and comments in the chat box to everyone. We have a few that have come in that we'll go ahead and get started. Patrick asked earlier, he said, not all, but many attorneys think firm leaders don't want to learn the software that is meant for staff. How do you change that attitude, or you don't need to?
Well, I think you do need to. And that's very personality driven. I think the first thing that you do there is making it simpler. A key part of all of this is focusing on simplicity. And me having been in the software industry for many years, I believe that the modern technology world has shown that simplicity and adoption outranks functionality and features by a long shot. Because if you have all the features in the world and they're not being adopted, it's not really going to help you, obviously, I guess. But if you have far fewer features and functionality, but they're being adopted and used by everyone, you get huge advantages often. And it's those initial stages that not only provide the improvement just because of the actual things that they're automating and the actual initial features that you're using, but it's starting to address that problem that you mentioned about how do you get sort of partners or leaders in the firm to begin to be open to and adopting technology. This is also where working with a good firm, whether it's an MSP, whether it's a company like SaaS Shop, and again, if you're doing that through 20 vendors, you can see where that can be a little bit challenging because each one has their own support processes. That's another thing that SaaS Shop tries to simplify through our consolidation approach, that if you've got immediate response there, if you've got somebody who's able to take, because very often those questions that are coming from that principal or that maybe technology resistant person, they're not the deepest, most complex problems. They're definitely stopping work because if you're not able to find the appointment that was set, or you can't find the document that you need to share with somebody, or you got an older version of a document, very classic problem that these document management tools are intended to sell that to solve. Those problems start to go away if you can quickly get a response. So again, I don't know if I answered your question totally. It's a process. Some folks are going to be very resistant to it, but I think if you simplify it, you focus first on simplicity and adoption rather than depth of functionality, you begin to get staff up to speed quickly, and then you use that as a leverage point to pull the resistant folks into the process. So kind of a long-winded answer, but hopefully it helped.
Patrick just put in the chat box, he said, good insight and thank you. Another question that I have that came in, can you go a little bit more details about what is involved in a software review and how long does it take?
Yeah, sure. Really, this is a very simple process. It takes, maybe less than an hour or two, quite honestly. What we typically do is find the individual. We often find that the individual who acts as the legal administrator, if you have that specific title, or you have another individual who fills that role, either has knowledge of the tools that are being used, or can direct us to the individuals that do have that knowledge. Very often that can be quickly done through just collecting receipts or looking at credit card statements. So it's a process we're quite efficient with. So we quickly collect that software and we sit with you for about an hour. Sometimes it can even be less. And we kind of just give you an assessment of gaps that we see, products that maybe are good candidates for this initial sort of stage. But it's a very quick and lightweight process. Now, sometimes we find that as we dig into that a little bit, we see an opportunity to maybe you've already adopted some tools that correspond to later stages in the roadmap as we described it, and they might involve a little bit more technological assessment of, maybe it's related to how your domains are set up and how your email addresses are formulated and things like that. And we can go a little bit deeper depending on the interest and the need. So at first it's very lightweight, happens very quickly. It's less than an hour or two commitment of time, not necessarily directly with us. Sometimes it's just collecting, again, information, receipts, credit card statements. Sometimes we can pull that with your assistance right out of an accounting system that you're using, just to get a clear picture. And very interestingly, at that stage, what we very often find is people say, whoa, I didn't know we were doing that. I didn't know we were using these products. Why are we still buying that? So those revelations are very handy quickly. And then that leads obviously to discussions of, what other tools might be appropriate and how we can begin to augment and optimize around that. So very quick, lightweight process, no cost to it. And it's a good starting point to put you on that journey.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg. Another question. I know that you had mentioned, deciding that, are you a Google company or a Microsoft company? But in a case, can SaaShop help with migrations from one solution to another, like from Google to Microsoft?
Yeah, indeed. That's a common thing we find. What's very interesting there is both of those products, those are really the two. I mean, maybe there's some other choices, but those are the two that we typically find. They have their idiosyncrasies. Um, some people love Microsoft and others are totally committed to Google, but almost invariably, everybody has issues with whatever one they've chosen. So very commonly, that can be a first step for us to take people from Microsoft into the Google world. We try to walk through the process of how the behaviors are going to be different between the two and get people comfortable with those. We've dealt with some environments where they're mixed, which can be a little bit challenging because some folks might love the way Google does it and they're very wedded to that, while others are committed to Microsoft, but the firm wants to consolidate and they don't want to have a mixed environment with things being different and whoever happens to be using it. So that's a little bit of a process just to talk through and understand what's driving the desire to shift, maybe exposing you to other tools that could alleviate the desire to shift. But often if it comes down to full on doing a migration, it's something we do and walk you through that process. We try to do that at earlier stages. Hopefully that's happening at an earlier stage, in the nascent or the developing stage versus somewhere late down the stream. Obviously, if you've moved late down the stream, you've probably gotten more sophisticated and made that choice. So it typically is not happening then. But it can be cost too. You look down, you're spending a certain amount of money, and very often it can be cost. It's not functionality. So that's where it might happen later in the stream. You see, hey, we're paying a lot for this. We could save a bunch of money by moving to Google. That's a common request we see. So it's a process we're familiar with.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg. And I don't see any other questions coming in. So I think I will just turn it back to you, Greg, for any final remarks before closing us out today.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Joy and ALA, for allowing us to conduct this webinar. We really appreciate the opportunity to do it. I would just say in conclusion, your firm's journey through the technology adoption landscape, it's not a one-stop or a one-time trip. It's an ongoing process. Understanding where you are, and again, whether you're just starting out or you're looking to innovate, you're quite sophisticated in your technology use. I think you can make informed decisions about the tools that you're using, and that's going to really be important to continuing to drive success. Um, each stage comes with its own set of projects and priorities, challenges, but the ultimate goal is to get you to comfortably leverage technology, again, to improve efficiency, enhance your client service, and set up your firm for long-term growth. So really appreciate your time. We'd love to engage with you. Again, scan that or just reach out to us directly at SaaS Shop. And if we can just help you kind of think about it a little bit differently and set you on a journey, if you become a client of SaaS Shops and we can help you with your software consolidation or bringing on new products, we'd love to do that too. But again, thanks for your time. We appreciate you joining us today, and look forward to engaging with some or many of you in the future. So thanks a lot.